And good morning, YouTube, on the day before Thanksgiving. It's the old soldier coming at you from Robeson County, North Carolina today. It is about 47 degrees outside here where I'm at. And I think it's going to turn out to be a pretty day. It's just a little overcast. If it was colder, I'd think it's going to snow, looking at the way the color of the clouds. But anyway. But the farmer come last night, started harvesting his beans out the field. So here in the next day or so, I'm gonna have some empty fields to look at. That's okay. Like I said, I'm hoping next year that he'll come and he'll grow corn. That'd be neat to have corn all around the house. When people drive by, they can't see the house. It is what it is. Well, like I said, folks, we're going into the Thanksgiving holidays, or weekends, if you will. For those of you that are traveling or will be traveling later today, please, for the love of all that's holy, be careful and stay safe in your travels. Certainly want you to get where you're going safe and sound, and make it there in one piece. Cousin's got a new truck, but I'm sorry, my cousin looked like I have a new truck. It looks real nice. Kind of jealous. No. But if you're traveling for Thanksgiving, just be careful. And when you get to where you're going, I hope you have a lot of fun. I hope everybody gets fat and happy. If you're already fat like me, just stay happy. But have a good time and enjoy yourselves with friends and families wherever you may be going. And if you're staying at home for Thanksgiving, you got people coming to visit, I pray for those coming to visit you to have a safe journey and you have good fellowship and a good time. So give thanks for this great nation that we live in, even with all its imperfections and even with all the bickering that's going on. Give thanks for this day and this country. I got a little perturbed this morning when I just catch a little bit of the news where the First Lady went to a school in, I think it was Baltimore, to talk about the opioid crisis. And I will give Mrs. Trump credit where credit is due. I think she handled herself in a dignified, respectful manner. And I'll be quite honest, her husband, the president, can take a lesson from her on that. That's just my opinion. But I thought that, she took everything with a grain of salt that the people were saying and doing. And she got up there and she made her point known. She made her piece known. And I can't honestly really say that I've ever heard the First Lady come back and point fingers at people. That's the best way to describe it. She doesn't really try to interfere with her husband's policies or work. I know during the campaigning of this 2016 election and shortly after the inaugural, there was threats made against her son, Barone. And naturally, she reacted like any mother would to protect her child. I don't blame her for that. But beyond that, I think she's been a very dignified First Lady. There's people out there that, they want to go back and push buttons about her past as a model and some of the racy photos that were out there when she was a model. The Nobody in this world is perfect. He that is without sin cast the first stone. And the reason I say that is to say this. Betty Ford, alcohol problem. And who knows how many other first ladies have had issues that we don't know about that never come to fruition. Go back to FDR's time, where him and his wife, FDR and his wife, Eleanor, were not on the best of terms during their marriage. It's been documented that Franklin had mistresses. For you younger generation, that means he was having a relationship with someone other than his spouse. I'm not trying to insult the younger generation, but a mistress is not a term you really hear very often anymore. I'm trying to think what president during the 1800s whose wife pretty much ran the White House, if you will, because her husband was sick. Name it. The president's name escapes me at this point in time. But anyway, enough of that historical bit. But I just thought yesterday, after seeing it, how she handled herself in a dignified and respectful manner, even though this crowd at this high school was honestly very disrespectful to her. She really wasn't there to tout her husband's policies, and she wasn't there to berate the crowd. She was there to emphasize her point on programs that she's trying to establish to fight the opioid crisis. So, kudos to her, hats off to her for her efforts, and shame on them people that booed her. What she was trying to do had nothing to do with her husband's policies. And honestly, there was the time, I think, when NASCAR booed. A bunch of NASCAR fans that booed. I want to say it was Michelle Obama. I have to go back and look on that one. And they were wrong for doing that too. Just put that out there. I didn't care much for the former First Lady. She kind of stuck her nose in areas where she didn't need to, but again, my opinion. But so did Nancy Reagan. Now, a lot of people love Ronald Reagan. I'm one of them, but I wasn't really fond of it. I'm just one of those people who wasn't fond of Nancy Reagan. Part of it because she'd bring astrologists into the White House, and I'm sorry, my Christian values don't agree with that. I'm not saying she wasn't a supporting wife. She absolutely was. She loved her husband. Make no doubts about it. I just thought she kind of stuck her nose into things that her husband had done that she had no business being involved in. Again, my opinion, folks. And honestly, the second George Bush and the first George Bush, both their wives, they kind of, lack of better term, stayed in the background. I don't know, is the first lady or first husband supposed to stay in the background? Not my place to say. Are there first ladies out there that had good programs? Yeah. And again, I'm not a big fan of Nancy Reagan, but she did. She's the one that did. I'll give her credit where credit's due. She kind of put an emphasis on drug abuse issues in the nation for our time in the 80s. Because if anybody grew up in the 80s knows, cocaine was a big influence in 80s culture. There were movies made about the drug, if you didn't know. And there was a lot of kids that were dabbling with alcohol while underage. The whole, you know, and she started a program to help fight that. So I'll give her credit where credit's due on that one. And I've probably never really expressed my opinion on Nancy Reagan before, but there you have it. I'm not saying she was a bad person. I just don't agree with the whole astrologist deal, and some of the things. And there were some other things she did that didn't sit well with me. And I can't confirm this or not, but I want to say it was the first or second Christmas they were in the White House. Her children with Ronald Reagan were allowed to stay in the White House, but Ronald's children from his first marriage to Jane Wyman were, I don't know if they were made to, but they wound up supposedly stayed in a hotel in Washington, D.C. instead of being allowed to stay in the White House with Ronald and Nancy. There's kind of some conflicting reports on that one, but the one that didn't set well with me. I mean, that's his children. And that comes from my own belief. You know, my daddy was big on this because my dad was married twice. I don't know if I've told you, my viewers, this, but my daddy was married twice. His first wife passed, God rest her soul, and left him with 2 teenage boys to raise. And it was a bad time in my dad's life. He just had a heart attack 3 years prior. Medically retired from the Army. You know, there was a lot of times he was at work when she would be at home sick. And long story short, my dad had a lot on his plate. Well, 3 years after she passed, he met and married. You know, he met my mother, and a year later, they were married. Or they were married later on. Anyway, they got, you know, mom and dad got married in '66. Yeah. So, and then 2 more boys. Me and the brother I grew up with. By the time I was born, the 2 oldest brothers, they were out of the house and were living on their own. But anytime we'd have a family reunion, and I bring this in because it kind of ties into Thanksgiving too, because a lot of times we had big family reunions on my dad's side at Thanksgiving sometimes, and people that weren't, you know, they're half brothers, huh? Oh, my, you want to get a man upset and mad? You tell my daddy that, and he would stop you cold in your tracks. They're brothers. Ain't nothing half about them. And it was just a real stickler with my dad, and it's something that is stuck with me. And I catch myself doing it to people when I hear them. Well, this is my half brother. You mean your brother? Yeah. Okay. You know. And Dad was very, very adamant about that. That all 4 of us boys, Leon's boys, they like family, like they call us. There was nothing half about us. We were brothers. That's how it kind of ties into what I'm saying there. But anyway, I think the current First Lady handled herself admirably yesterday with dignity and respect and quiet reservation. And I think for her efforts, I pray and hope her efforts in this area of endeavor are extremely successful. And I wish the mainstream media would lay off on criticizing her for the actions of her husband. And likewise, all previous First Ladies ought not really be held accountable for the actions of their husband. Much as I dislike this woman, and I'll say it now, I am not a big fan of Hillary Clinton. I can't stand her. I think that she is, well, I have a very low opinion of Mrs. Clinton. But I will say that during the 90s, when her husband was going through his impeachment hearing, because he had lied to the American people about his relations with Monica Lewinsky, which honestly, I look back in retrospect, okay, he lied to the American people, but over what I call a personal discretionary issue, really ought not have been grounds to impeach him. It was just, I'm not going to say it was a witch hunt, but it was a poor ground to have an impeachment hearing on. But long story short, you know, their daughter was still young and impressionable at the time, and having to hear these things come out in the public, and Hillary Clinton had to sit there and take it. And she didn't, point fingers. Of course, she knew her husband had a past history of this type of behavior. There again, that marriage might not be a marriage of love anymore if it ever was, but for that secret to come out in public like it did, I hate to see any spouse have to endure that. There was the was he a senator or a representative here from North Carolina? Wife was suffering from cancer, and he'd had a child out of wedlock with another woman, and it came to light. And I felt for his wife. She was having to suffer through cancer, and then to find out her husband had another child out of wedlock. He had an affair. But I guess that's the price you pay when you bring your family into the public venue, I guess. Not that it's right, and I've never agreed with it, but anyway. Anyhow, folks, I just thought I'd share that tidbit with you. As tomorrow, I will try to get a video out. Maybe a short one. It may just be one where I walk through the house and get all the members of the family to say hello or something. I don't know. We'll think of something. I would ask that you would remember the men and women of our armed forces tomorrow and today, every day, but especially today and tomorrow. Especially those that won't be home to celebrate Thanksgiving with their families, let alone or Christmas. As while I'm driving to work, and you're going to listen to this video later on today, always remember that somewhere, in some place, stands an American service person who stands between us and those that would do us harm. And they make a sacrifice every day on our behalf. And I'm not saying it because I was one of those at one time. I'm saying it because it takes a special character of individual, even today, to step up to the plate and say, this I will defend. Remember our first responders and law enforcement officials that will be on duty today, tomorrow, and Friday, taken away from their family to protect yours. The doctors and the nurses. That's another area that we kind of forget too. Those doctors and nurses in the hospitals that, people, they get paid real. Yeah, they do. But it still takes someone to say, hey, I'll work Thanksgiving this year so you can go home and be with your family. I'll be at the hospital to answer the call if somebody gets sick or somebody's hurt. Want to thank them for doing that. Because you imagine if all the doctors and nurses decided, well, I'm just not going to work on Thanksgiving, and somebody gets hurt or real sick. It's not like back in the day when my mom and dad grew up that you got a small town doctor that covered a 3-county area that, people would have to come and get him at his house. And the big cities were the only place that had the hospitals. So now you can't go too far nowadays without finding it. Hospitals are fairly in decent proximity to most towns nowadays. But anyway, folks. just want you to remember those folks today, tomorrow, and throughout the remainder of this holiday weekend, and the sacrifices they make for us each and every day, that we can remain free and safe. With that being said, we're going to close this one out today. I just want to share my thoughts on that, though, today about the First Lady, what I observed, my observations on it. And again, I want everybody to have a blessed and wonderful Thanksgiving. God bless each and every one of you. With that being said, just some charities, as I always ask you to support and help out if you can. Pin Up for Vets, Valid for Veterans, TunnelsToTowers.org, and Folds of Honor. Likewise, you've got some vendors that I always like to recognize. Money Quick Pawn on Rayford Road in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Robert's Custom Woodwork on Etsy. Unsung Patriot, he's got an Etsy store site. Both of them got great products. Go check them out. Order something for a loved one who would appreciate what they have for Christmas. Likewise, if you like my poetry that I read on Mondays and you haven't got my books yet, now's the time to go ahead and get a couple of them and get them in time for Christmas to put in stockings, the stocking stuffers. Likewise, my t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, and all that, they're all down below. I want to say Holiday 20 and Cyber 20 will get you a discount on my t-shirts through this weekend. Also, military. If you type in military on my Teespring site, you'll get $5 off any order. So I'm still trying to figure this out, how to work that whole system through the Teespring site, and I'm finding out now I can do these things. So I'm putting them out there now to let you know that they're available. So with that being said, folks, God bless, take care. Appreciate our men and women in uniform who serve and protect us each and every day. And until tomorrow, on that day of Thanksgiving and feast, I pray each and every one of you to have a blessed and wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. And I pray the Lord will keep you safe if you're traveling. And may God bless each and every one of you. This is Old Soldier out.